Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. This year, my 7th grade son has been using Essentials in Writing Level 7, which I know a lot of you have been curious about. This is the first year we've used this curriculum, so today I'm going to tell you all about it, show you all the parts and pieces, and then tell you about a big mistake I made this year that, looking back, I wish I would have done differently. Let me jump right in. I'm going to start by giving you an overview of Essentials in Writing as a whole, so you can get a feel for how this program is designed, how it works, and how it's intended to be used in a homeschool. Essentials in Writing is a complete grammar and composition curriculum for kids in 1st grade all the way through high school. A big thing that sets it apart is the lessons are taught online through a video component. And a lot of parents love this because it means that they don't need any special training or background in teaching writing to be able to teach this course. Everything is covered by the instructor in the videos. He follows a very systematic, step-by-step approach to teaching writing, and during each new lesson, he'll focus on one concept, clearly explain it, and then model it for the kids with his own writing. Then immediately after the lesson, students complete a writing assignment that allows them to apply what they've just learned. The video lessons are something that my kids really like about this curriculum. They love Mr. Stevens and how he teaches and presents the information. And one thing that I really appreciate is how the lessons are broken down into manageable chunks, especially in the grammar lessons, which made it easier for my kids to grasp new concepts without feeling too overwhelmed. If you're curious about how the video lessons look, they do have a sample video on their website, and you can sign up for a free trial, which is exactly what I did, to see if my kids would enjoy the teaching style. So when you purchase any grade level of the course, you're going to get the instructional video lessons, and this comes with digital access to the student book and teacher manuals, or you can choose to purchase print versions of the books to go with the video lessons. That's what I did because I didn't want to have to print everything out, and I didn't want my son to be doing everything online. I wanted that physical writing component. And just so you know, you have access to the online lessons for 12 months, but you get free renewals. So for example, I purchased my curriculum about 6 months before we actually began using it, so it was going to expire before we were finished. And I just sent them an email, and it was no problem at all to get that time extended. So you get those online video lessons. I will show you the online dashboard in a moment, and then you will get a teacher handbook, a student workbook, and this is another add-on if you want it, an assessment/resource booklet. I'm pretty sure you can choose to also add on DVDs if you want, and there's an optional scoring service you can also add on, and I'll talk about that later as well. We did give that a try this year. Okay, so now that you've got a broad overview of Essentials in Writing as a whole, let's dive into Level 7 specifically, which is what I'm using with my son, so you can see how the lessons are structured. We haven't used every other level, but we are using Level 6 with my daughters right now, and they're set up pretty much in the same way. So even if you're not using Level 7, it should still give you a good idea of what you're getting into with this curriculum. Okay, so this is the dashboard once you log into Essentials in Writing, and it is very, very simple to navigate. So if you scroll down here, this will show all of the courses that I currently have. So I've got Level 6, 7, and then Level 8 is going to be next year. We're also doing Essentials in Literature. You guys will have to let me know if you're curious about that. I am using it right now for my 7th grader, and then next year we will continue with Level 8. But I can always do a flip through and share that with you as well if you'd like. Now with this program, you do not have separate logins for your kids. So when I want them to work on their lessons, I log in using my login credentials, and I just have that set up and ready to go for them on their computers. My girls are both doing Level 6, and I don't have to purchase it twice. You purchase it once, and they can both use it even at the same time. They just have to be logged in through me. They don't have their own separate logins. So my son, when he's ready to get started, he will click into his level 7 video courses, and then this is the dashboard that he sees. So right down here in the middle, this kind of gives you a quick overview of progress at a glance and the lessons that have been fully completed. And if you click into one of these right here, it's going to show you all of the lessons for that section broken down. You also have the navigation over here on the right, so whichever way you want to do it. But whenever he's finished with a lesson, there's a little button that he can click that says mark completed, and that's what will turn it green. Now, I like this, but if you're using it with multiple kids, if 2 kids are using the same course, which maybe isn't very typical, but if you do have that, then it can kind of get confusing, because if one of them marks it off, then the other one may think that it's already been completed. I don't know. They just have to follow their lesson plan in their book to know what lesson they should be on. But my son is the only one using this, so it's really easy. He can just mark it complete, and he can then pick up and just know which video he has to do next. So let me go back real quick and show you. Again, we've got the same navigation on the side. These first 2 links are just kind of instruction, how to use, a little introduction to the course. This intensive grammar review, this covers just different parts of grammar if they need a refresher. We didn't go through any of this, but it is here. They're very short lessons, so if your son or daughter needs help with compound subjects and compound predicates, there are multiple ways, obviously, you could look up and get help for this, but if you wanted some short videos on how to do these or review, they do have this section right here, which can be helpful. And then again, to navigate, you can use these arrows and access the lessons that way, or you can go through the middle right here. Right here, you have a digital course workbook. I much prefer the physical book. I think it would be really hard to do this course just with the digital book. You could certainly read it on here, but there are a lot of exercises and things. I mean, I guess you could write them in a notebook or something, but that's up to you. If you want a digital version and you don't want to purchase the printed copies, they do have this in here. There's also a digital version of the teacher handbook, and I'll show you guys what these look like and what's all inside them in just a moment. And there's also this section here that's alternative instructional strategies. So this is just a PDF file. If your student is really a struggling writer, if they have some learning difficulties, these are some suggestions of things that you can do as a teacher during the unit to kind of guide them and help them. So kind of like just little helps or modifications, and it goes lesson by lesson. So this is in here if it's something that would be valuable to you as a parent, as a teacher. And that's honestly pretty much it. So when you click into a lesson, so if my son's ready to start lesson 52, it takes him right to this page right here. This particular video is about 8 minutes long, and he will watch the video, and then when he's done, mark it complete, and then move on to his workbook. Now, they do have a free trial. You can access a free trial on the website if you want to give your kids a chance with the video lessons to see if they like the teacher's style. So we did that. I highly recommend that you do that just to get a feel for what the teaching style is like, what the videos are like, and whether or not they would be a good fit in your homeschool. Next, let me show you the physical component of the curriculum. First, I'll do a brief look at the teacher handbook. This book really just gives you instructions on how to use the curriculum, and then there is an answer key that's in the back. So on this first page here, this kind of just gives you a high-level overview of the 2 units. The first unit, really the first part of the year, is grammar, and then unit 2 is composition and the writing process. This page covers a few different icons that you and your child will see as you work through the book. You've got some instruction here on how to score the daily activities and score the compositions. This is really up to you, but they give several great options that you can choose from if you're going to be keeping a grade for this course. And then this page gives you an idea of what a typical lesson should look like. So you'll watch the video lesson, then your student will read the text in their workbook, they'll complete the assignment, and then they recommend recapping the lesson and previewing the next one. The next couple of pages just show you a syllabus of the entire curriculum. They've got a suggested pacing schedule in here if you want to use it. And then we get to the answer key for the student workbook. I'll be honest, I could not stand how this answer key is set up. First of all, it's really small print, and it was just more difficult for me to use to match up the answers with my son's workbook. Not impossible, just more annoying. I really wish they would have this book written like some of the other teacher manuals that I have, where it looks exactly like the student book, but it has the answers in it. I know that would cost more money and use more paper, but I would totally pay for that. Anyway, it's not important at all to this review, but I figured I'd share my opinion on that. So all of the rest of this book is just the answer key. Okay, so let's look at the student book. So I'm going to show you the table of contents right here. So table of contents, you can see exactly what's covered and how it's broken down. Like I mentioned earlier, the first unit, so lessons 1 through 22, are all grammar. So in these lessons, students will learn how to apply parts of speech, they'll work on sentence structure, and they'll also learn how to address common grammar issues. Now, a complaint I will hear from a lot of people who dislike this curriculum is that the grammar is taught in isolation, and they really wish the grammar and the composition sections were taught hand in hand, or maybe even alternating one and then the other. I see what they're saying. I kind of disagree with this, as I'll show you when I flip through the book more. I don't think that grammar is taught completely in isolation, though I guess maybe I'd have to ask someone what they mean when they say that, because there are writing activities within this grammar section that allow students to practice and apply the grammar that's being taught directly to their writing. But I do agree that some students might benefit from more writing practice within this first unit. In Unit 2, though, this is really where students dig into writing and work on developing composition skills. So they'll create a variety of paragraphs, they will write a personal narrative, they will write a persuasive business letter, an expository essay, they will do a descriptive personal letter, and then finally a research project. So here you'll have a brief introduction to writing, and then you get into the first real lesson right here. The lessons are really easy to follow because you have a little calendar icon in the top corner that tells you which day to do the lesson on. It's up to you though if you want to follow that or not, or if you want to go at a different pace. It's just a guideline. The lesson corresponds to the videos online. So for example, on this day, your child would watch the video for lesson 2, then they would read this section in the book, and then they would complete the written assignment. Then on day 2, since this is still part of lesson 2, the expectation is that they would re-watch the lesson 2 video so that concept can really sink in, and then they would read and do the book work and so on. So this one is a couple of pages. So they would stop when they get to the next day. So every day, same routine: watch the video, read the text, and complete the written assignment. They say that most lessons, including the video instruction, can be completed in about 20 to 30 minutes a day. And I'd say this is true for the most part, but highly dependent on your child and whether or not they need to work on any particular part of the curriculum, if they need extra work. But I think this is a fairly good generalization on how long it will take, in case you're wondering about time commitment. So after the grammar concept is introduced, on the third or fourth day of some of the grammar lessons, students will have an example paragraph where they have to identify the concept. So in this case, it was common or boring adjectives. And then they have to rewrite the model paragraph using more descriptive adjectives. But then after this, they are asked to write their own paragraph. They're given a prompt where they have to practice using the concept that they just learned about. So this is the format for some of the grammar lessons. The concept is introduced, they get some more basic practice, and then there is a simple paragraph that they have to edit using the new grammar concept. And then finally, a chance for them to write their own paragraph from a writing prompt. Now you will see this icon here at the end of every lesson where the kids have to do their own writing. This icon indicates that they can submit this assignment to the online scoring service if that was something that you purchased. I'll talk more about that in a minute and show you guys what that's like. But what I typically did was I had my son do a rough draft here in his book, and then he typed it up and edited it, and then he submitted it to be graded. So that's how the grammar lessons are structured in these first few lessons. There are a lot of examples given for each section so the student can see what good writing looks like, and the writing prompts help them to put what they are learning into action. Like I mentioned earlier, this is how they do incorporate writing practice into some of the grammar lessons, although it's definitely not necessarily teaching them the writing process or teaching different composition skills within this unit. Now, when we get to lesson 8, though we are still in the grammar portion, this is where students don't do as much of their own writing and rather work with examples of writing to learn proper sentence structure and identify common problems in writing. So this lesson is on independent and dependent clauses. Students will work on identifying each of those things. They have to finish some sentences here, and then they move on to another type of sentence structure. I think what's missing is for students to be able to practice coming up with these types of sentences completely on their own. It's one thing to be able to finish a sentence that someone else started, and another thing to be able to write an entire sentence showing that you understand the concept. Same with this lesson. There's a lot of great practice in identifying the sentence structure, and they get practice editing and rewriting an example paragraph, but there's no prompt for them to practice, let's say, writing a paragraph that includes compound sentences. So I think this is where those complaints are a little bit valid, that the grammar is kind of isolated from the writing, but I think that this can be pretty easily fixed if you want to add more writing in, but it's just something to be aware of. Now, I will say there are still some pretty great lessons in here. This one helps teach the students how to revise and take sample writing and practice varying the sentence structure. This becomes really important to be able to do when they move into the composition lessons. So let's take a look at those lessons next. Here is the first page of Unit 2, which briefly talks about the writing process that students will be using in this section. Since this first part is all about different types of paragraphs, you have one lesson giving an overview of paragraphs, and then your child will work through the writing process for each type of paragraph they write. So during the video lessons, Mr. Stevens walks through each step with the kids and shows his own examples of how the process should look and what a good writing example would be. And then at the end of each type of composition, you have the option to submit it to be graded, or there is a rubric provided for you that's really easy to follow and use if you want to grade the compositions yourself. The checklists are really handy for the kids to use as well to self-evaluate before they turn it in, along with just being able to look through the rubric and see how they're going to be graded. Now, after each composition type, you also have the option to give an assessment if you purchase the assessment booklet, or you could have your child do the extra practice page if you think they need more practice with that particular type of writing. they suggested that you do one or the other, either the assessment or the extra practice, because the assessments also include a writing portion. And if you do the extra practice, ideally, you would have your child rewatch the video for each step in the writing process to really hone in the important ideas. So that's basically what the composition unit looks like. Every piece of writing will walk your students through the writing process. So brainstorming, organizing ideas, drafting, revising, writing the final draft. So it's really easy to use and follow. In the back of the student book, there are some perforated cards that your students will tear out and use when they work on their reports later on. And there are more cards in the resource booklet as well. Let's take a look at that real quick. So this book is an add-on. Okay, you have to purchase this separately. It includes assessments for each section. I have torn out some of mine. There are comprehensive unit tests, assessment answer keys, extra graphic organizers in here, writing checklists, and there are also some helpful posters that you can tear out and put in a binder on your wall for your student to use. I tore out a few of mine and put them on the board in our schoolroom for easy reference. So this is handy to have. I wouldn't say that it's necessary, but if you do plan on testing or want extra graphic organizers on hand, this might be a good thing to purchase. Okay, the last thing I want to share with you is the scoring service that Essentials in Writing provides as an option. I was really on the fence about purchasing this year. We don't keep grades, and I probably won't until high school, but I was curious about how it worked, and I was also wondering if it would motivate my kids more to do well because they were having to submit their writing to someone else. Well, I'm glad I tried it out because now I know how it works. If you want a quick answer, I won't be purchasing it again next year, not because I didn't like it. I think it's an amazing service and absolutely helpful to homeschool families that want to utilize it, but because A, it's kind of expensive to do for all of my kids, and B, I feel like the rubrics they provide in the teacher guide are sufficient enough for me to use to grade on my own. But I want to show you what this looks like really quickly on the back end because this is something you don't really see until you purchase it, and I thought it might be helpful to know exactly what you'll be getting if you decide to purchase this service. So right here on this homepage of the dashboard, you access the scoring service by clicking this link right here. And right now you're gonna see a page where it's just a profile for all of my kids. So I purchased it for my son and my daughters. And if I want to go into a particular child's dashboard, I just click View Grading Dashboard. Now, remember, this is all one account. So the students are going to do the same thing on their end to access this. So whenever my son needed to submit a paper, he would do the same thing. Okay, so this page right here gives a record of everything that he has already submitted and then the things that he has not submitted yet. So there are 5 assignments from Unit 1 that you can submit and then 10 from Unit 2. So there are 15 total submissions in this course where they can turn in their writing and get a grade. So the process is really simple when they are ready to submit something. So let's say he was ready to submit his persuasive business letter. They do have specific format that they want it in, so they give you instructions for how the student should have the heading, the size of the font, how they should set up their margins, and we just did all that in a Google Doc. And then I had him save it to a PDF file, and then he would come in here and click on this. It gives them a rubric so they can evaluate their writing and make sure that they are hitting all the marks. This is everything that they're going to be graded on. So nothing is confusing, nothing is a surprise. But then he'll scroll down here, and then whenever he's ready, he will choose a file. And then that's where he'll select that PDF that we saved from his Google Doc, and then he'll just click Submit Assignment. So when he does that, I get an email letting me know that it's submitted, and then usually it's within a week or so that we hear back that the assignment is graded. Sometimes it is within a couple of days, but I don't think it's ever been longer than a week. And then I will get an email letting me know that it has been graded, so we don't forget to log in and check the grade, check the feedback. Now they get one chance to submit all of these. They do not get a second chance to submit. So, with this one right here, if we weren't happy with that grade, he doesn't get to resubmit it, but I as a parent can have him go in and kind of work on any of the critique that they gave him. So if you're keeping grades and you wanted to have them improve on their grade, that would be something you'd have to do on your own. Now, once you have something that's been graded and you want to see the details on it, you will click on the assignment and it's going to pull up an overall comment at the top, and then you see the grade right there. And so this was a personal narrative. Then you're going to see the rubric again, and the score, whatever they chose for those points, that's going to be highlighted. And then you've got the score over here on the right, kind of showing all of that. So a very easy visual. And then if you want to actually look at their comments and see the assignment, you're going to click on View Graded Assignment. So it'll pull up this page right here where you actually will see the paper that they turned in. So again, here was the heading and then how they wanted it formatted. And then these parts that are highlighted here, it's really nice because I can click on that highlighted part and then it pulls up even more specific instructions on comments that they had about that part. So if I go down here, click on that, it'll kind of highlight it over on the side. And the feedback is always really good. They do a great job of giving constructive criticism. They always have, they find something good that they've done, but they always offer some ways that he can improve as well. So I've been really impressed with the feedback, and it has been helpful for him to hear from somebody else and to see kind of an outside perspective on some of his writing. So you can print this. It gives you instructions on, if you wanted to download it, it'll pull up a PDF. You can also download it with the comments in case you wanted to print this out for a portfolio or something. And I guess you can download the scorecard too. We haven't printed any of this out, but it's all laid out for you very nicely, really easy to navigate, really easy to understand, and it really is a great service that they provide if you're looking for some help with the grading part in your homeschool. Okay, so let me wrap this up with some personal reflection time. I shared at the beginning of this video that I made some mistakes while using this curriculum this year, and I want to be open and share those with you guys so you don't do the same thing. I think it's just something to be aware of when teaching using this curriculum or really any other curriculum. And I started to really think about this once we hit the composition unit because my son really began struggling with synthesizing all of the information he had gone through in the grammar lessons and then applying that to his writing. And I came to realize that as I'd been checking his work all year, there were some things that I was kind of lenient on and let slide that maybe I should have followed up more on or given him extra practice on. For example, I'm talking about maybe word choices he used that almost made sense, but not quite. Or I let him skip the extra practice at the end of the lesson because he didn't want to do it. Or when I had to correct a lot of mistakes in his work, but then I didn't assign any follow-up work so he could practice with what he struggled with. There were numerous times I'd had him make revisions on his work, but instead of maybe stopping and giving him extra practice, we moved on, and I just assumed that it wasn't really a big deal, that he was doing good enough, and that as the year went on, he'd figure things out. And a lot of this kind of stemmed from being a slave to the curriculum schedule. And I didn't even realize that's what was going on and that's what I was doing. But I got caught up in the suggested pacing and worried that we needed to stick to the schedule so we could finish the curriculum on time, whatever that means. See, I know this, but I got sucked into that mindset. Looking back, I would have actually ignored the suggested pacing schedule and simply opened the book, worked through the lessons systematically, or at least planned them out myself from week to week, and taken time to really make sure my son understood what the point of each lesson was and that he had had sufficient practice. I for sure would have had him writing something, at least a paragraph, every day, because there's no point in just checking off the boxes if the learning isn't taking place. I know that It's like the #1 rule in homeschooling, and yet it happened, you guys. So this is just a reminder that you get to set the pacing in your homeschool. You get to decide when your child is ready to move on and what you want to focus on each day. I really feel this would have benefited us now that I'm at this point looking back. Okay, so that's just something I've been reflecting on lately. I spent some time wondering if it was just the curriculum, but honestly, I think this is a great curriculum. And even though my son loathes writing, he really likes the curriculum, and he wants to use it again next year, which says a lot, especially as he's not happy these days because we are doing a lot of writing and working on some of those areas he's weaker in. He still says he wants to continue using it. So after using Essentials in Writing this year and really digging into the curriculum, I can honestly say it's a solid choice if you're looking for a writing program that's structured, student-friendly, and simple to implement. How hands-off you can be as a parent will really depend on your child. For example, along with my son, my twin daughters are using Essentials in Writing Level 6, and they've been able to work more independently this year, watching videos, reading the lessons, and successfully applying the strategies with minimal help from me. But to be fair, they also love writing, so that definitely plays a role. If you have a child who doesn't love writing, like my son, I think the way this curriculum breaks lessons into small, manageable chunks makes it feel much more approachable. Plus, the video instruction really takes the pressure off you as a parent to teach every concept yourself. That can be very handy if you have multiple kids that you're homeschooling. Just make sure you are following up every day and that your child is really understanding what they are learning. If you're looking for a practical, effective writing program, I definitely consider Essentials in Writing for your homeschool. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more homeschool curriculum reviews, tips, and encouragement. I'll also link to the Essentials in Writing website in the description below, where you can check out a sample video or even sign up for a free trial like I did to see if it's a good fit for your family. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.